If you're planning to travel in 2026, whether domestically or internationally, there are some important updates you need to know about. I'm going to walk you through the real requirements affecting travelers this year, including real ID enforcement, international authorization systems, and your rights as a passenger. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear, accurate understanding of what you actually need to travel smoothly in 2026. Let's separate fact from fiction and make sure you're properly prepared for your next journey. Welcome to US Visa Info. I'm here to provide you with accurate, reliable information about travel requirements, visa policies, and immigration updates that affect everyday travelers. With so much confusing and sometimes misleading information circulating online, my goal is to give you the facts you can trust, presented in a clear and straightforward way. Today, we're covering the real travel policy changes taking effect in 2026. I'll explain what's actually required for domestic flights, what international travelers need to know about entry authorization systems, recent airline policy updates, and the passenger protections that exist to support you when things don't go as planned. This is information based on official government sources and verified airline policies, not speculation or fear-mongering. Whether you're a frequent flyer or someone who travels occasionally, understanding these requirements will help you avoid unnecessary stress and ensure your trips go smoothly. So, let's dive into what you really need to know. Let's start with one of the most talked about changes, real ID enforcement for domestic air travel. You've likely heard about real ID for several years now, and it's important to understand what's actually happening in 2026. The Real ID Act was passed by Congress in 2005, establishing minimum security standards for state-issued driver's licenses and identification cards. After multiple deadline extensions, the current enforcement date set by the Department of Homeland Security is May 7, 2025. This means that starting from this date, travelers will need Real ID-compliant identification to board domestic flights within the United States. Here's what this actually means for you. When you go through TSA security at a U.S. airport for a domestic flight, you'll need to present one of the following forms of acceptable identification: a Real ID-compliant driver's license or state ID card. You can identify these by looking for a star marking, typically in the upper right corner of your license. This star indicates that your state has verified your identity documents according to federal standards. A valid U.S. passport or passport card. These are always acceptable for domestic air travel and automatically meet federal requirements. Many travelers don't realize that passports aren't just for international trips. They're one of the most convenient forms of ID for domestic travel as well. Other acceptable forms of ID include Department of Defense ID cards, permanent resident cards, border crossing cards, DHS trusted traveler cards like Global Entry or Nexus, and several other federally issued identification documents. Now, here's what's important to understand about what happens if you arrive at the airport without acceptable identification. Contrary to some alarming claims circulating online, TSA does not charge travelers a fee for not having Real ID. There is no $45 verification charge or any monetary penalty. What actually happens is this. If you don't have an acceptable ID, you may still be allowed to fly after going through additional screening procedures. TSA has a process to verify your identity through other means, which may include answering questions about your background that only you would know. This process takes extra time and is not guaranteed to be successful, which is why it's strongly recommended to have proper ID. But there is no fee involved. The best approach is simple. Check your driver's license now. If it doesn't have the Real ID star, contact your state's Department of Motor Vehicles to find out how to upgrade to a compliant license. Most states make this process relatively straightforward, requiring documents like your birth certificate, social security card, and proof of residence. Alternatively, ensure your passport is current and bring it when you fly domestically. This eliminates any concern about Real ID compliance. Now, let's talk about international travel, where several countries have implemented or are implementing electronic travel authorization systems. These are real requirements, and understanding them is essential for international travelers. First, let's discuss the United Kingdom's Electronic Travel Authorization, or ETA. The UK government has introduced this system for visitors who don't need a visa to enter the United Kingdom. If you're a US citizen planning to visit England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland, you will need to obtain an ETA before traveling. The UK ETA system has been rolling out in phases. As of the current information available, the requirement applies to most visitors, including US citizens. The key points you need to know are these. You must apply for the ETA before you travel. It cannot be obtained at the airport or upon arrival. The application is completed online through the official UK government website or their mobile app. There is a small application fee, currently $10, and you'll need a valid passport, a digital passport photo, and a payment method. The ETA is linked electronically to your passport, and airlines will check for this authorization before allowing you to board flights to the UK. Most applications are processed quickly, often within hours, but it's recommended to apply at least a few days before your departure to avoid any last-minute complications. The ETA is valid for multiple trips over a 2-year period, so once you have it, you don't need to reapply for each visit during that time frame. This authorization is required even if you're just transiting through a UK airport on your way to another destination. The important thing to remember is to use only the official UK government website for your ETA application. There are third-party websites that charge significantly higher fees for the same application. Always verify you're using official government resources. Moving to Europe, there's another system you should be aware of. The European Travel Information and Authorization System, known as ETIAS. This system has been discussed for several years and is being implemented by the European Union for visitors from visa-exempt countries, including the United States. Here's the current status. ETIAS is expected to become operational in 2025, though specific implementation dates have been subject to change. When it does launch, US citizens traveling to countries in the Schengen area will need to obtain this authorization before their trip. The ETIAS will work similarly to the UK ETA. You'll complete an online application, pay a fee of $7, and receive authorization that's valid for 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. The application requires basic personal information, passport details, and questions about your travel plans and background. One important clarification: there has been confusion online about ETIAS fees and exemptions. When the system becomes active, travelers under 18 and over 70 years of age will be exempt from the application fee, though they will still need to complete the application. Again, use only official EU sources for your ETIAS application when the system launches. Europe is also implementing an entry-exit system, or EES, which will record biometric data for travelers entering and leaving the Schengen area. This system will use facial recognition and fingerprint scanning at border crossings. The EES is separate from ETIAS. ETIAS is the travel authorization you obtain before your trip, while EES is the border control system you'll encounter when you arrive in Europe. The purpose of these systems is to enhance security and manage visitor records more efficiently. While they add steps to the travel preparation process, they're designed to make border crossings smoother once you're authorized and in the system. For all international travel authorization systems, my recommendation is to apply as soon as your travel plans are confirmed. Don't wait until the week before your departure. Having these authorizations in place well in advance gives you peace of mind and avoids the stress of last-minute technical issues or processing delays. Let's shift our focus to some notable airline policy changes happening in 2026. Airlines regularly update their policies, and staying informed helps you make better booking decisions and avoid surprises. One significant change comes from Southwest Airlines, which has announced a major shift from its traditional operations. For decades, Southwest has been known for its open seating policy, where passengers could choose any available seat when boarding. In 2025, Southwest announced it would transition to assigned seating, marking the end of its unique boarding process. This change is expected to be implemented gradually throughout their fleet. What this means for travelers is that when you book a Southwest flight under the new system, you'll select or be assigned a specific seat, similar to how most other airlines operate. Southwest has indicated that this change responds to customer preference research, showing that most travelers prefer knowing their seat assignment in advance. For travelers who valued Southwest's open seating because it allowed families to sit together without extra fees or gave them flexibility in choosing seats, the transition to assigned seating may come with some adjustments. Southwest has stated they will still offer free checked bags and no change fees, maintaining some of their distinctive policies. Another important update across the airline industry involves mobility devices and battery restrictions. Due to fire safety regulations regarding lithium batteries, airlines have specific requirements for mobility scooters, wheelchairs, and other powered medical devices. The Federal Aviation Administration sets limits on lithium battery capacity for air travel. Generally, lithium batteries with a capacity exceeding 160 watt-hours require special approval or may not be permitted at all. Many mobility devices use batteries within acceptable limits, but some heavy-duty scooters or long-range devices may have larger batteries. If you travel with a powered mobility device, it's essential to check the battery specifications before your trip. Contact your airline well in advance to inform them about your device and verify that the battery meets their requirements. Airlines can provide guidance on proper documentation and handling procedures. This advanced communication prevents situations where you arrive at the airport only to discover your essential equipment cannot be transported. Regarding baggage policies, most major airlines continue to charge fees for checked bags on domestic flights, with some exceptions for premium cabins or elite status members. Baggage fees typically range from $30 to $35 for the first checked bag and $40 to $45 for a second bag on most carriers. Sizes and weight limits are generally consistent across airlines, with a 50 lb limit for standard checked bags and specific dimension requirements. If you're planning to check bags, always verify the current fees and policies for your specific airline and route when booking. International flights often have different baggage allowances than domestic routes. Now, let's discuss something that's actually very positive for travelers: enhanced passenger rights and protections. The U.S. Department of Transportation has strengthened regulations that protect consumers when flights are disrupted. One of the most significant improvements involves automatic refunds. Under rules that have been reinforced and clarified, airlines must provide prompt automatic refunds to passengers in certain situations without passengers having to specifically request them. If your flight is canceled or significantly changed, and you choose not to accept alternative travel arrangements offered by the airline, you are entitled to a refund to your original form of payment. A significant change is generally defined as a departure or arrival time change of more than 3 hours for domestic flights or 6 hours for international flights, though the specific definition can vary. If you paid for services you didn't receive, such as Wi-Fi that didn't work, seat selection fees for seats you didn't get, or checked bag fees when your bag was significantly delayed, you're entitled to refunds for those ancillary fees. These refunds must be automatic, meaning airlines should process them without requiring you to jump through hoops or fill out complicated forms. The refund should be returned to your original payment method, not as a travel voucher or credit, unless you specifically choose to accept a voucher instead. This is a significant improvement from past practices, where airlines often pushed vouchers or made the refund process deliberately difficult. The new rules require refunds to be processed within 7 business days for credit card purchases and 20 days for other payment methods. For passengers with disabilities, there are important protections in place as well. Airlines must provide assistance to passengers with disabilities at no charge. This includes help navigating the airport, boarding and deplaning, and stowing mobility devices. If you need disability-related assistance, it's helpful to notify the airline when booking and again when checking in. Though legally, airlines must accommodate requests even if advanced notice wasn't provided. If an airline damages your wheelchair or mobility device, they must provide a temporary replacement at no cost to you and are responsible for repairing or replacing your device. There are also specific regulations about accessible lavatories on certain aircraft and seating accommodations for passengers with disabilities. If you experience problems with an airline regarding disability accommodation, refunds, or other passenger rights issues, you can file a complaint with the Department of Transportation's Aviation Consumer Protection Division. They track complaints and can investigate patterns of violations. Let me share some practical tips to help you prepare for travel in 2026 based on these real requirements. First, create a travel document checklist for yourself. Before any trip, verify that you have the necessary identification and authorizations. For domestic travel, ensure you have Real ID compliant identification or your passport. For international travel, check whether your destination requires advanced authorization, like an ETA or ETIAS, and apply well ahead of your departure date. Check your passport validity carefully. Many countries require that your passport be valid for at least 6 months beyond your planned return date. Even if your passport hasn't technically expired, you could be denied entry to certain countries if it doesn't meet this 6-month requirement. If your passport is getting close to expiration, renew it before booking international travel. The U.S. Department of State has expanded online passport renewal for certain applicants, making the process more convenient. If you're renewing an adult passport that's not damaged and was issued within the last 15 years, you may be eligible to renew online. Check the State Department's website to see if you qualify and to access the online renewal system. When booking flights, read the fare rules and understand what's included and what costs extra. Different fare classes on the same airline can have very different policies regarding changes, cancellations, seat selection, and baggage. The cheapest fare isn't always the best value if it comes with significant restrictions that don't fit your needs. If you have specific needs related to seating, medical equipment, dietary restrictions, or disability accommodation, communicate with the airline when booking and again, before your travel date. Airlines can better accommodate your needs when they have advanced notice. Arrive at the airport with plenty of time before your flight. TSA recommends arriving at least 2 hours before domestic flights and 3 hours before international flights. This buffer time accounts for security lines, check-in procedures, and any unexpected delays. Rushing through the airport creates unnecessary stress and increases the risk of missing your flight. Keep both digital and physical copies of important documents. While it's convenient to have reservation confirmations and boarding passes on your phone, technology can fail. Having printed backup copies of your itinerary, reservations, and important phone numbers provides security. If your phone battery dies or you have connectivity issues, you'll still have access to critical information. Consider enrolling in TSA PreCheck or Global Entry. If you travel regularly, TSA PreCheck costs $85 for 5 years and provides expedited security screening at most U.S. airports. Global Entry costs $100 for 5 years and includes TSA PreCheck benefits, plus expedited customs processing when returning to the U.S. from international trips. These trusted traveler programs can significantly reduce wait times and make the airport experience more pleasant. Stay informed about travel requirements for your specific destinations. Government websites like travel.state.gov provide up-to-date information about entry requirements, safety conditions, and travel advisories for countries around the world. Checking these resources during your trip planning helps you prepare appropriately. In today's digital environment, it's crucial to distinguish reliable information from misinformation, especially regarding travel requirements. Unfortunately, there's a significant amount of misleading content online designed to create fear or sell unnecessary services. Here are some red flags to watch for that indicate information may not be trustworthy. Claims about fees or penalties that sound unusual or extreme, especially if they're not mentioned on official government websites. For example, claims about TSA charging fees for not having Real ID are false. Always verify such claims with official sources. Websites that offer to process travel authorizations for significantly higher fees than the official application cost. While third-party services are legal, they often charge 10 to 20 times the actual government fee for simply submitting your application. There's no advantage to using these services, and you risk providing your personal information to unknown companies. Content that uses excessive fear-mongering language designed to create panic rather than inform. Reliable sources present information clearly and factually without resorting to scare tactics. Information that doesn't cite official sources or provide verifiable references. Trustworthy travel information should point you to government websites, official airline policies, or other authoritative sources where you can verify the facts yourself. When researching travel requirements, always prioritize official government sources. For U.S. domestic travel and TSA requirements, visit tsa.gov. For passport information, use travel.state.gov. For international destination requirements, check the official government websites of the countries you're visiting. For airline policies, go directly to the airline's official website rather than relying on third-party interpretations. If you encounter information that seems questionable, take a few minutes to verify it through official channels before making decisions or spending money based on that information. This simple step can save you from unnecessary expenses and stress. Let's recap the key points from today's video. Real ID enforcement for domestic air travel is in effect as of May 7, 2025. You need compliant identification, such as a Real ID driver's license or a passport to board domestic flights. There are no fees charged by TSA for not having Real ID, though you may face additional screening procedures. For international travel, electronic authorization systems like the UK ETA and the European ETIAS require advanced application before your trip. These are real requirements that you need to complete, and it's best to apply well ahead of your travel dates. Airlines are updating various policies, including Southwest's transition to assigned seating and ongoing battery restrictions for mobility devices. Always check current airline policies when booking and verify requirements for any special equipment or accommodations you need. Your rights as a passenger are stronger than ever with automatic refund requirements for canceled or significantly changed flights and protections for passengers with disabilities. Know these rights so you can advocate for yourself when issues arise. The key to stress-free travel in 2026 is preparation based on accurate information. Verify your documents, apply for required authorizations early, understand airline policies, and give yourself plenty of time at the airport. I hope this video has provided you with clear, factual information to help you navigate travel requirements confidently. If you found this helpful, please consider subscribing to US Visa Info for more reliable information about travel, visa policies, and immigration updates. Your likes and shares help this accurate information reach more people who need it. Safe travels, and remember, preparation with the right information is the best way to ensure smooth journeys in 2026 and beyond. Thank you for watching.